All right.
Good morning.
Good morning.
And give you a little green star. There you go.
I don't need no green star.
Yeah. You can get the green star today, ma'am.
Hey, we doing this together. This is a group effort.
Okay. Sure.
Don't short me. Good morning, Maze. Good morning.
Hey,
So,
Maze.
listen, I'm at the gas tank pumping some gas, and it's at $90, and it's still going.
Oh, my. This is bananas.
Man, 94.35.
Mm-mm. Out of line.
Try $200 a week.
That's about where I'm at right now. 94. I got to fill up twice. And Culture Realty ain't paying me enough to be having $200 worth of gas a week. Oh,
Good morning, everyone. Good morning, Shell, Chevette, Angel.
Good morning.
let's see.
There. Good morning. We'll get started in just a second, guys.
Shannon, is that the topic at the top?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, that's not what she told me.
We can change it. What were you preparing? I'm like, I'm sure you know the daily habits of high performing realtors because you are one yourself. But what were you planning on talking about? Because I'm for it.
I mean, we could keep it here, but remember she said it was how to choose a brokerage.
Oh, yeah, she did.
How to broker, how to today.
You could always combine the topics. How an awesome brokerage teaches you the daily habits of high performing realtors. You do both. You got this. Good morning, family. We'll get started here in just a moment.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
All right, so I'm stepping in for a little while for Janelle. She may be able to jump in on the conversation in a few minutes, you guys. First of all, we want to apologize to cancel our event for tonight. We had some issues come up with vendors, and it was just the best thing for us to do at the moment to go ahead and cancel the event. So once again, we apologize for all of you lovely people that had scheduled hair appointments and bought clothes and etc. We truly apologize. All right, so we are gonna hop right into the daily habits of high performers. I want you guys to know that I am driving down the street because I wasn't prepared to do the clubhouse. So please bear with me if you hear any noise in the background. So I want to touch bases on me first and how the habits that I created in order to sell the amount of houses that I sold when I was 100% in real estate. And then we'll go into just basic habits of high performance real estate agents. So for me, for some of you guys that don't know me, I'm the founder of Culture Realty, CR Elite Realty. And I was originally one in the 1% of top agents in Houston, Texas. I was number one in the spring area for about 6 to 7 years. My top amount of houses that I sold in 1 year was 290 houses. In a year, I averaged out probably about 220 every year until we decided to open up the brokerage. And I dropped down. I sold 70 houses last year, and that was just from referrals. So the most important thing that I can tell you guys that I changed was my mindset. I know we spoke about this the other day when I hopped on the clubhouse with you guys, but the mindset is what I had to change. So I had to go into the mindset of an independent contractor where I treated my job like a 9 to 5, right? So a lot of us look at real estate like just something to do, or I'll do it when a client comes, or I'll do it when I have time to do it. But you have to treat real estate as if you were treating a 9 to 5 if you were working. And that consists of creating a schedule. So the first thing that I did was I created a schedule, right? My first 3 hours in the morning was straight lead generation. Nowadays it's a little bit different because of the pandemic, but before, from 8 a.m. to 12, I did lead generation. So I woke up at 6 o'clock in the morning. I did all my activities I needed to do personally. I headed to the office, and from 8 until 12 o'clock, I did lead generation, and that consisted of whatever it is that you decide that you want to focus on. For me, I did an hour and a half of phone calls and an hour and a half of social media. And at that time, my social media just focused on LinkedIn. I did not focus on Facebook. I didn't focus on Instagram. LinkedIn was where the clientele that I was going after, doctors, lawyers, oil and gas, was at. So LinkedIn is what I focused on. All right. The second thing that I did was I got a coach, right? Coaching was important for me because I didn't hold myself accountable to anything. So after I did my 3 hours, I kind of checked out, and whatever the world had to offer me, if it was going to hang out, going home to clean my house, that's what I did. So once I got a coach, they kept me on track. They held me accountable. I had to check in every single week to allow them to know, let them know what I was doing, right? And then after I got me a coach, what I did was I got consistent. So that's the biggest thing. So mindset was big for me, a coach, and then being consistent in the different activities that I was doing. And the last thing is I picked one thing. So a lot of us, we go out and we do multiple things, right? So some of us want to door knock, some of us want to make phone calls, some of us want to go to events. It's okay for you to do multiple things, but I focused on one thing and everything else came in secondary. So when I originally started, I door knocked. It wasn't a day that I didn't go outside and I didn't door knock. And if I didn't have a client that day, I may door knock for 4 or 5 hours. And I know that it sounds like a lot to you guys, but I had a goal. I wanted to be number one in Keller Williams' spring office. And in order for me to attain that goal, I had to make sure I did that one thing 99% of the time until I had the clientele to give me referrals and until I started buying leads as well. All right. Now, once it got hot, I'm gonna be really honest with you guys. I'm from Minnesota. Once it got hot in the summertime, I couldn't do that door knocking. And Janelle taught me how to do phone calls. So I switched my main thing over to doing phone calls. And that's where I stayed at. So I did phone calls 60% of the time, and 40% of the time when it was cool enough, I went out and I door knocked. Okay. So the top thing that a one percenter does is they stay 5 steps ahead of their competition. All right. And in order for me to stay 5 steps ahead of my competition, I had to master farming. And we'll touch bases. I just want to give you guys a general thing of what I did, and then we'll go into every individual thing. I had to master farming because what I was all over. So when I door knocked, I knocked around the listings that I had, around the listings that other people had at Keller Williams, and in my neighborhood. And I realized I wasn't touching the same people twice. I was basically just out randomly door knocking. Now it worked for me, right? I got a lot of listings. I was able to get a lot of buyers, but I wasn't able to stay consistent. I would fill my pipeline up. I would have 20, 30 people. Once I closed those people, I wouldn't have any more people again. So I had to learn how to master farming one neighborhood, right? And if you look back at all the top agents out there, they're in an area, right? Christy Newcomb is one of the number one agents in Cyprus, right? She sells over 150 houses in Cyprus alone every single year. And the one thing that she did from Janelle as well at KW was learn how to master farming. Right. And for those of you guys that doesn't understand what farming is when you choose one neighborhood and you put all your marketing and focus into that neighborhood. So I actually decided to use a zip code and not a neighborhood. So 77386 for those most of you guys that know that. When I chose that zip code, I went after everybody through social media targeting, and through door knocking and open houses at first until I had enough budget to be able to send out mailers, just listed and just sold. And when I say I sent out just listed and just sold, I didn't send them out just for the houses that I listed and sold. I sent them out for the houses that listed and sold. Okay. So when a listing came up, I sent out a just listed. This house was just listed. I didn't say I listed because you can't lie about it. I just said the home was just listed. If you have any questions about this house, contact me. When someone sold a house in that neighborhood, I said this house just sold and it sold in 5 days. And 2 years ago, 5 days was amazing because houses were selling between 20 days and 60 days. So everyone in that area thought that, well, this was 8 years ago, but everyone in that area thought that I was selling all of these houses and listing all of these homes. So eventually they started calling me because they thought that I was the go-to real estate agent in that area. All right. So I know I'm going a little fast. Do you guys have any questions so far? All right. No questions. Shannon, anything to add to right now before I continue?
Yeah. How did you
No, I'm
market?
just reminded of your journey. What was your top amount of houses sold in 1 year?
So it depends on the year. Like my highest year basically was like 290. My average house, I would have to say between 180 a year. My first couple of years, I mean, I started off with 10 the first year, so it built up 36 the second year. I was at 76 when I met Janelle, and Janelle helped me take it a little further. So it wasn't until my 6th year in real estate when I added Laura on and 2 more team members that I was able to sell that many. Now, I sold new construction homes. I also got with Ashton Woods over in um, the Falls and a couple more builders, and they allowed me to list some of their homes, right? So I would definitely say that 75 of those homes were listings. And when you deal with builders, a lot of times they don't give you 100% of the commission. So they were only giving me 1.5% of that commission.
Okay, and then that's cool. Okay, so you mentioned also that you added people to your team. So when did you have to pivot that way, and what were the key players that you added to your team to be able to make it happen?
So everything that I do, I follow Gary Keller's motto in The Millionaire Agent. Now, I do believe that it's time for that book. Don't tell him that, but it's time for that book to be updated. But the motto still stays the same. Our price ranges are just higher. So once I made it to 4 million, I added a transaction coordinator. Right. So at the time, I didn't bring one personally for my team. I just hired a company on, and they took care of all my paperwork, so it was able to be able to do other things. Right. Once I hit $8 million, I brought in a admin. So Laura was my admin. She took care of everything in the beginning, all of my social media. She made sure that my transaction coordinator had the paperwork. She also did all my farming preparation for my open houses. Everything that I did was taken away from me and give to Laura, except for going out on the presentations and showing the buyers, right? And then I waited till I got to $15 million in real estate before I bought a buyer's agent on, because if you do the calculations, you guys, $4 million is only $120,000, right? So, and even at 8 million, you got 240,000. But with the amount of money that I was paying my admin and my transaction coordinator, it took about 30% away. And on top of that, my marketing was 20%, and the IRS was 20%, right? It doesn't leave you with that much money. So instead of waiting until 12, going at 12 million, I waited till I got to 15 million. And that's when I brought on the first buyer's agent to help me. Because at that time, I gave them 50% of everything that I was making off of my buyers. So every one of my buyers went to my buyer's agent, and they collected 50% of the commission from those buyers, right? In this market, $120,000 is like $50,000 back in the day. So I do suggest that at 4 million, you guys bring on a transaction coordinator, not a transaction coordinator that you hire on your team, but a transaction coordinator that you can outsource your paperwork to, so you have more time. All right. At $8 million, I do believe you should bring on an admin, because that's when things start to get a little busy. All right. And I believe anyone should bring on a buyer's agent in this day and age. And this is just me, until about 15 million, because you can hire a showing agent until then, where you just give someone a fee or a small percentage, 10%, to show the houses for you, and you can just go to your listing appointment. The issue that I seen with a lot of teams that started too early was they gave too much of their money away, and then they had to let go of some of their people because they couldn't afford it. So I want you guys to be very careful when it comes to building teams in this day and age, because 120,000, I just put $100 in my tank just now, right? So $120,000 after you pay taxes, after you pay for your marketing, after you pay for your gifts to your clients, after you pay the brokerage, it doesn't add up to nothing but about $60,000. And it's hard nowadays to live in the direction we're going off of $60,000. And what you don't want to do is hire someone on and then have to let them go because you didn't calculate your funds. Does that answer your question, Shannon?
Yeah, that definitely helps.
Okay. So I did an interview with some top agents a few years ago. So if you guys know who Karina Loken is, so for those of you guys that know Lance Loken actually wasn't the originator of the Loken team. Karina Loken was. When she got to a point where she didn't believe she can go any higher, she brought her husband on a corporate job, and he came on and became the face of the Loken team, because she believed that him as an individual would be able to take them higher than what she was able to take them to. Before she brought him on, she was already selling over 500 houses a year, and she was okay with stepping back and no one knowing who she was, just so that she could take her family and her team to a different level. So I interviewed her and about 5 other agents that are top agents that sell thousands of homes a year. And they all said the same thing when it comes to what does it take to be in the top 1%. Number one is a schedule. All right. I need you guys to be a little interactive right now. How many of you guys actually time block and have a schedule ready to go?
I just started when I got in tax part time.
I
Okay,
have
who
a
else?
schedule, but I don't really, I've not been adhering to it like I should.
Anyone else have a schedule going?
Same. I have a time blocking schedule, but I allow myself to get distracted.
Okay. So the first thing that we have to do in order to stay consistent is stick to our schedule, right? How many of you guys take a couple hours or even an hour? You have to start somewhere. An hour a day and lead generate 5 days a week.
Yes.
What was the question?
How many of you guys lead generate at least an hour a day?
Yes.
Not consistently.
Not every day of the week
Yeah,
like
I'm
I should.
inconsistent.
Okay. How many hours out the week do you lead generate patients?
Honestly, maybe like about 4.
Okay, so out of the 4 hours, I'm just picking on you because you spoke up. Out of the 4 hours of lead generating, for last month, how many transactions did you close?
2.
Okay, and how many are you
Well, was
set?
that? Are you asking? Was that from lead generating transactions I closed?
Yeah.
I don't know if that was from lead generating, but yeah, I closed 2 last month.
Okay. So if we listen to the numbers, not yours, patients, but if you listen to the numbers and everybody that said they lead generated, they're normally going to be closing something or they have something in the pipeline, right? So right now we've determined that the reason why we're not closing any transactions right now, and some of you may still be closing, so I'm not taking away from you, is because we're not consistently lead generating. So what you guys have to commit to yourself at this moment is that you're going to write a schedule out, time block a schedule. And even if it only starts with 4 hours a day so that you can get consistent, because I had to work myself up, right? I started off with giving out 10 business cards and calling 10 people a day, going on Facebook and talking to 10 people until I worked myself up to where I was doing it 2-3 hours a day and going out giving out 100 business cards and going standing in front of stores that had hundreds of people going in there an hour and passing it out. So you just don't wake up and hop into this, you guys, but you have to pick a number and stick to it. And me personally, I know Janelle says 100, so stick to 100. Listen to what Janelle says. But if you can't start and talk to 10 people on Facebook and stick to your time blocking, and just with those 10, within the next couple weeks, I guarantee you, you guys will have a deal. All right. So the first thing that they said was that they time blocked, they scheduled, and then the second thing they said was that 3 hours of those time blocking, um, our time blocking times was lead generation. Okay. Now with the Loken team, I can tell you 100% everything they do is phone calls. Right. They have a whole department of people that call 8 hours a day. Right. They do 60 minutes on and 20 minutes off. So they call for 60 minutes straight to people and they take a 20-minute break. And they do that for entirely 8 hours. Now I know a lot of you guys are a one-man team, so I suggest you just to do it for 2 hours starting off. Do 60 minutes on, do 10 minutes off, and do 60 minutes on of whatever it is that you desire to do or whatever it is that you and Janelle came up with, regardless if it's phone calls, if it's door knocking, or if it's hopping on social media and talking to people. All right. So the third thing that they said, we're back at kind of what I did, is that they got a coach or an accountability partner. So everyone did not start off with a coach, right? They couldn't afford a coach or whatever the situation. There wasn't coaches at their office. And so they got an accountability partner to hold them accountable, to do their open houses with. And that's one thing that when I first started in real estate, Giselle's on here. Me and Giselle was accountability partners, and we were the ones that did open houses together. We door knocked together, and we did anything that allowed two of us to do, and as well as her calling me or me calling her, holding each other accountable. So does everyone on here have accountability partner or a coach?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, so that's the second thing I want you guys to put on your to-do list. So everybody that did not say yes, I need you to reach out. If you're in our brokerage, there's enough people that you can reach out and you can ask someone to be your accountability partner. Make sure it's someone that that is all actually going to hold you guys accountable, right? Someone that actually wants to ask them a few questions. Me personally, if I reached out to an account person and asked them to be accountability a partner, I would ask them what their goals are. How many houses do you desire to sell within this quarter or next year, right? I would also ask them what their hours are, right? If you're a dual agent and you have a full-time job, as crazy as it sounds, I personally would get someone that had an opposite schedule of mine, because as an accountability partner, they can also help you to show houses. So when you get a client and you have to work, call on your accountability partner to show those houses for you, and vice versa, right? But just make sure that it's a period of time that you guys don't work at the same time, so that you guys can be able to call each other every day, script and role play, and hold each other accountable. All right. So two things on your list. One, please write a schedule. If you have an issue coming up with that time block schedule, please reach out to me or Janelle. I would love to help you, or I will share you my old time blocking schedule with you guys. And the second thing is to get an accountability partner or a coach. Does anyone have any questions before I continue?
Yes. You mentioned
But
to script and role play with your partner. When you first started out, did you always work with the script? Because you mentioned that 60 you moved to a platform where 60% of your lead generation was through calling people. So how did that come about? Did you start with scripts? Did you eventually develop scripts? Talk to us about it a little bit, please.
okay, so scripting didn't make sense to me in the beginning, and so when I first started, I didn't script. I just kind of was trying to get used to it. So I just allowed it to flow when I called. And I can tell you that did not work, right? Because I didn't have a structure, I was all over the place. So I started time blocking every day for 30, I mean, not time blocking, scripting every day for 30 minutes. And that didn't work for me either, because I felt like I was reading off a piece of paper, okay? What I realized is once I memorized the script, I was able to add different things in that allowed it to sound like me, and I was more comfortable, right? Um, the biggest thing is the objectives. So it wasn't the script that bothered me, it was the questions that they asked that threw me off of the script. So after a period of time, what I started doing was scripting and role playing my script for 10 minutes. And for the remainder 20 minutes, I went over objectives. I had my accountability partner ask me random questions, so that I knew how to continue going with the conversation and not getting thrown off. Right. And within, it took some months. It took almost a year for me, just because it was that cold calling wasn't something I love to do. But after a year, I was able to just allow it to flow. I didn't need a script anymore, right? So those of you guys that know me, I definitely feel like I can out script any person that think they can script. But that came with almost 10 years of, scripting, role playing, and me using those scripts everywhere I was at. So if I'm in an elevator, I use them talking to a potential buyer. If I'm at a party, when I go to a grocery store, um, Janelle will tell you, like, sometimes I irritate a lot of my friends because before I sit down to start eating or have the conversation with them, I walk around and I talk to people. So I'm one of those people that I prefer to go places by myself, so that I can be able to talk to everybody in the room, and I have a goal basically. So every time I walk into a building, I want to leave out with one potential buyer at least. Does that answer your question, Shannon?
It does.
Okay. Do we have any more questions before I continue, you guys? Okay,
Yes, I have a question.
go ahead.
Okay, so could you kind of tell us what that conversation would kind of sound like? Because in a restaurant, like, do you remember?
Yeah. So I mean, I still do it now. It's a habit of mine. Right now. So it depends on who you're talking to, right? So I'm going to talk to the waiter. I'm going to talk to every single waiter. And I go about things a little bit differently. I'm okay with giving some of my money away, you guys. You have to be comfortable with giving it away. So when I'm talking to a waitress or a waiter, I let them know who I am. So I ask them, hey, especially if it's a waiter that is really good at their job, right? So I'll approach them and I say, hey, I really liked your customer service, and how you guys served us today. I wanted to give you a proposition, right? I'm a real estate agent. I sell majority of the homes in this area over here, and I'm willing to give you a referral fee for everyone that comes in here that you give my card to and they actually close on a house. All right. And they'll say, what is the referral fee? Right. And I'll tell them, well, I can only give you a $50 referral fee. But what I can do is teach you how to become a real estate agent or show you how to become a real estate agent. You don't have to be an agent, but if you have your license, I can give you 25% referral for everybody that you send me. Right. So how about you do this? What if you send me 5 people? I'll give you that $50 deposit. Referral. And if it's something that you really like to do, I'll point you in the direction of where to go get your own license at. Or if it's something you don't want to do and you see the potential of how much money you can make, you can still get your license and I'll give you that 25%. Right. I'll let them know. I also will invite you out to all of my referral parties. So I have parties for my clients that send me referrals. You'll be able to get gifts and be able to get free movies, different things that I give out at my events. And alongside that, you'll be able to meet different clientele yourself and different people and create new friends. Right. So a lot of waitresses because I used to be madly in love with Jaspers and they just closed down. A lot of waitresses used to send me a lot of referrals for the Woodlands in Jaspers, right? Because I would give them a referral. And one of the girls actually went out and got her real estate license. She tried to do real estate. It didn't work for her. She was better as a waitress. And so I would give her 25% every time she sent me somebody. Okay. Now, if it's just somebody inside of the restaurant, because that's how crazy I am, I'm gonna walk around and I'm gonna ask them, hey, I have not ordered my food yet. I'm trying to decide on what food I want to order. What are you that looks really good? Right. And they'll say, well, I'm eating this, and the other. And I'll say, that's amazing. Well, thanks for telling me. I think I'm gonna go ahead and order that. But since I walked over here, how about I give you my business card? I'm a real estate agent in this area. I've sold over 100 houses and I want to be your real estate agent. Are you looking to buy or sell a house soon? And they'll say yes or no, right? Say they say no, and I'll let them know, okay, well, that's amazing. I'm gonna give you 2 more cards because you seem like you know a lot of people. And if you come across anybody that says real estate, if you hear the word real estate, it doesn't matter what they're trying to do. Can you give them my information, and I'll make sure that I help them. When they call me and they say that you sent them, I'll make sure that I give them the best customer service. And just for saying your name, I'm gonna give them $500 towards their closing costs. All right. So that's all they have to do. If they mention your name, John's your name. They can call and say, "Hey, Rayvon, John sent me." I'm gonna say, "Amazing." I'm gonna make sure I give you $500 towards your closing costs. John's a really good friend of mine, and I want to make sure you get the best customer service. All right. So I do that to make them feel great. Believe it or not, people feel good. It doesn't matter if they're rich or poor, whoever they are, they want to be able to say, hey, I connected this person and they got a good deal because of me. So I would get a lot of referrals from random people. I wouldn't know, I wouldn't even remember who these people were. But when they mentioned a name and said, hey, such and such send me, I knew for sure that I had to give them $500 off of their closing costs. Now, it's up to you if you want to give 250 or you want to give zero. But because I gave them an incentive, I had an item of value, I was able to get a lot more referrals. So I do recommend something. Even if you say, hey, I'm going to give your client one of the most amazing gifts or whatever it is, I was basically paying for leads without paying for leads, if that makes sense. Is that what you wanted?
Yep, that's exactly what I wanted.
Okay.
Thank you.
Anyone else have any more questions before we move on? All right, hold on, y'all. I'm trying to go in the garage. Okay. So the next thing that they told me that they had to put in place in order to become this in the 1%, and this one particularly came from the Loken team. They told me their marketing, right? And marketing is really big now, but 5 years ago it wasn't as big as it is now, and he was ahead of the game, right? So he didn't market to buyers. He was a little different. He didn't market to your average person. He marketed to large companies and builders. That's where he put majority of his money at. Okay. Want to market to, and that's where, and focus on one area and put majority of your money in there. Now the reason he focused on marketing to large businesses is because when you have people like Exxon, who I marketed to, and they have thousands of employees, you're able to get to more people in a shorter period of time. And if you sell only a few with that company, now you have 3 people, 4 people in that company advocating for you for everyone to use. Okay. So for example, I promoted to Exxon and to Texas Children's Hospital because my son had a heart defect and we were always there. So a lot of my marketing, every time I walked in that door, I said marketing. They allow me to. I asked, obviously, they allow me to set marketing on their front desk, in the informational center. I also, they're on their website. Every doctor, nurse, whoever, they have an email address on there. You can go on there. And so what I did was I made sure I put them all in a drip campaign. And I went a little further. I paid for a system, and they took that email and that name, and it gave me their personal telephone number and their house address. All right. So I had a couple doctors call me, and they said it was really weird. They're like, "How did you figure this out?" And I told them that I use a system. But because I went the extra mile to figure out their address, to figure out their personal telephone number, and I stayed consistent with the email, the marketing, and every once in a while I would do some drop bys, and I would take them some different things. I just looked up and it said that different doctors like, right? I was able to kind of take over Texas Children. And I did the same thing with Exxon. Exxon is so large. Obviously, I didn't take over, but a lot of my clientele came from Exxon. So with the Loken team, they said they put the money into the builders, and that if you look at the Loken group, they have basically taken over a majority of the builders. They are the ones that list most builders' homes. And he took the money and he put it into their into builders for years until they got tired of him. Right? They was every time they opened up um, um, a model home, he had something stuck to the door. He said every time they opened up their office, there was a door hanger there. He always stopped by and brought them gift cards and asked them could he leave his business cards there in case buyers came in and they didn't have a real estate agent, until they got to the point where they basically gave him those listings. And the same thing that he did, so he promotes to Target, Walmart, and different stores like that. And he's in those stores, like his, if you walk into a lot of those stores, you're going to see his gift cards, or you're going to see something about him inside those stores, because that's where he put the majority of the money at. All right, so how many of you guys right now do advertisement for your business?
I try.
What is it that you do?
I always try to post like informative stuff about real estate on Facebook, like social network things like that.
Okay, so what are you consistent with? Like, is there something that you do every day when it comes to marketing?
No, not really, to be honest.
Okay, is anyone on here doing consistent marketing for their business?
Yes.
Okay,
Um,
tell me what you're doing.
so what I'm doing, I make sure I post about 3 or 4 times a day on my page. I make sure I have about 3 to 4 videos a week, and that's help. And that's pertaining to my credit repair business. I'm still building up my marketing campaign on the real estate side, but it's still gonna kind of go hand in hand. I'm gonna do the same thing.
Okay, so you're consistent with posting and social media. On an average, do you do videos as well?
Yes, I do. I make sure I at least have 3 videos a week, and I go live,
Okay.
as well.
Okay, so you're consistent. You do videos. You schedule them out. What is the average amount of views that you have on a video?
On Instagram, I say about 5,000. But I post reels. If don't nobody understand that, you wanna make sure you do a video under a minute so you can post it as a reel, because reels have their own timeline. It'll see more people. And then on TikTok, I tend to go viral, every now and then. Probably every 4 to 5 videos on TikTok, and get at least 50,000 views on there.
Okay, so when you started off though, about how many views were you getting?
About 3 to 5 thousand views on Instagram,
Okay,
because I posted on the reel.
because you posted on the reel. So if you like, the average person doesn't go viral until people started seeing content, and it only takes that one video to go viral, for people to start following you. But one thing that you have to do is you have to stay consistent, right? So if you go viral and you don't produce any more great content, right, people are gonna stop following you. So if you look, like I had 16,000 followers. I think right now I have like 13,900. The reason being is because a lot of those followers, you guys, they were following me because of houses, and they were following me because of workouts, right? When I started working out a few years ago, when I got that blood clot, people started following me. My followers went up really quickly. I stopped working out. I stopped posting houses. I lost 3,000 something followers, right? Over the last 2 weeks since I've been back working out, and I'll post a house every once in a while, I've already got another 2,000 followers following me. But all of it is consistent. So just like you can build it up, it'll go down if you're not consistent with everything. I use Charlie as an example because he's consistent. He has so many followers and so many views, right? And his credit repair business is successful because of his consistency. All right. So, three things that we have to do, because it doesn't seem like everyone on here is doing them, is one, you have to time block once again and get that schedule going, and you have to stay consistent with it. Right. The second thing that you guys have to do, as we just talked, you have to be consistent with your marketing. All right. And the third thing is that you guys have to get an accountability partner. All right. Can can I have anybody agree? Anybody agree that they're going to do those three things starting today?
Yeah, starting today.
Yes. Kayla, I'm calling you, Kayla.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. So regardless if you're at our company or if you're at any other company, find accountability partner, someone out there. And you don't have to have an accountability partner at the same company. I had a lot of friends from Compass. Summer was just on here not too long ago. And I have Ruthie, is the number one luxury agent in the state of Texas. She's the one that taught me how to do luxury, and she has always been at Martha Turner Sotheby, right? So you don't necessarily have to have accountability partner inside of your brokerage. You just have to have one. And what I suggest is um, you change up accountability partners. So when I first started, I had accountability partner that was new to real estate right along with me. And then when I decided I wanted to like take real estate to a different level, I had to start having accountability partners that did more than me, right? So Ruthie and Joshua did way more real estate than I could imagine when I first started being hooked up with them and became accountability partners, and they helped me to get to the next level. Okay. So we have a few top agents on here that sold a lot of real estate. I want to touch bases with them. I like them to share their experience. Andre, can you hear us? Okay. Andre can't. We're going to go to Kamisha. Kamisha, can you hear us? Do y'all hear me, or do they just not hear me?
We can
We
hear
hear you.
you.
Okay. Maybe they don't want to talk to y'all today. Andre and Kamisha. All right. Is anybody else on here sold more than 50 houses?
I wish.
How many?
More than 50. Okay. So patience, you're like right there. So tell me some things that you do that you believe other can help other people's business.
Be consistent, which I ain't gonna lie, I fell off, but when I was being consistent, everything was going right. So that's the first thing I would say. Stay consistent. Whatever you're doing and you're getting
Hello,
results from
hello,
it.
hello.
Let Drake take it over. Go Drake.
Now go ahead. I wait my turn. For some reason, I was speaking, but no one couldn't hear me.
Okay.
All right, finish up,
You can
patience.
email it to me. You can email it to me. Yeah, so I would say whatever you see that's getting you results, I would continue to be consistent with that. Be consistent. That's the main thing that's gonna keep your business going. But I'm with some contractors right now, so let Dre take it out.
Andre.
Yeah, I would say the one thing I have been working on
I'm
more is the posting and just letting people know what we are doing. And it's funny when I hear Charlie talk about his views and stuff because I'm still just cracking the 200, 250. On a good view, I might hit 1,000. But I
Yeah.
just been consistent and just constantly putting out material. But here's the thing about us: I'm marketing on flips, I'm marketing on new construction, I'm marketing on being a top producer, I'm marketing on buying land, I'm marketing on rentals. I want everybody to see all the aspects because I don't want to leave any money on the table. Um, because I don't want to fall into where people think I'm just a builder and I'm no longer an agent, and then my other well dries up. So I'm constantly marking on everything that I do and have a separate video and a separate market for each of the items that I'm doing.
So just like Charlie, just like me, like you have to start somewhere, Andre. So believe it or not, having 1,000 on there is good, right? Because you just started out. Someone's calling. You just started out doing your postings and your social media stuff. So 1,000 is great. So you still got to give yourself a pat on the back. Now, the more consistent you are, and the more content you put out there, and you're making sure that you're doing the reels and you're actually using the music that is going viral right now, you'll actually start to see a big difference. Okay.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Good
Well, you
Hey,
morning.
was the one who told me that, Rayvon. So big shout out to you for sharing that with me.
No problem. All right, Kamisha, we can hear you.
good morning, everyone. I just want to piggyback off my brothers. Just the same thing. Make sure you go out there and let people know that you're an agent. Far too often, we walk around with license, and your friends and family forget that you're a realtor and they'll close deals on with someone else. How I stay successful is staying active. No matter if it was an open house or being active in the community. I'm heavily active with Women Council of Houston Black Real Estate Association, HBREA, and NARAB. But I didn't turn my back on, or I also joined things like TRLP, which is the Texas Leadership Partnership Program, and I stay educated. My marketing has always been guerrilla marketing, where I left my business cards at stores, barbershops, beauty shops, my dentist's office, wherever I go, my business card should be there. If I'm giving them business, I ask them to do me a favor in return. And the same thing that Rayvon said, I talk to the waitress, I talk to customers. I'm very friendly. So I'm I use that as my advantage, and just staying involved with different organizations was my key to success.
No, you said make sure you allow your friends and family to know. How did you allow your friends and family to know that you're a real estate agent?
So, and honestly, a lot of times when I go to my friends' birthday parties, whether I'm tired, I've showed 10 houses, maybe 12 houses that day, I showed up. And normally, one of my friends or my family members are there and they're introducing me as their favorite realtor. So that was one way. I also would throw surprise parties for people in honor of my company name. If it depended on who it was, like my close friends or my family members, I would throw parties, and I'll also mention, you guys, I'm trying to do X, Y, and Z this year. Can y'all send me a referral? So that has also helped me as well.
Amazing. So just something to add to it. I mean, I'm pretty sure a lot of you guys on here has had family members that knew you were a real estate agent and still didn't use you, right?
Woo.
A lot of people, go ahead.
No, I was saying, ain't that the truth?
Yeah. So it's a few reasons why your family members won't use you. One, they don't want you to know that their credit is bad and they don't have any money, right? A lot of them just don't want you in their business, and they just don't want to work with you in general, right? And how I begin to solve that problem, it is not a family member that won't come to me unless they just aren't talking to me, but a family member that won't come to me now, because I learned how to separate the personal and the business part, right? So when I send my business card, my thank you cards, my happy birthday, my everything, I still send it to my family as well, to allow them to know the business part of it. You coming to me as is a line between family and when it's time to go to business, right? Once they realize that, hey, there's a difference in her, it's confidential. She's not going to, look down on me if I have bad credit or if my down payment isn't there, and that she's gonna work even harder because we're family, because she wants to see me living in a house or having a house just as well as she do. Things started to change, so you have to learn to draw the line between business and personal, and a lot more family members will come over to you. I know it's like this big old myth, and I say it's a myth because if you if you treat them like business, they'll actually work with you. But a lot of people always say the people you know don't work with you, right? The people you know don't work with you until they know you're actually taking care of business, is what I say. Once they see you out here taking care of business, and you have to show them that, hey, I'm working with clients that don't have money, I'm working with clients that have bad credit, I'm working with clients, that's buying $200,000 house and $1 million houses, your family will start to come to you, and the people you know will start to come to you. They're just a lot harder on you than strangers because they know you, and they know you really just started real estate.
Yeah, I can definitely agree with Ray on that. With my family and friends, my first year, most of my family and friends did use me, but that was just because I came back from the mortgage industry as a realtor. However, when the I if you guys know me in the office, I'm very silly, I'm down to earth, but once we start looking at properties, I turn that off. We walk in, I'm looking at different things that my consumer is looking at, and once they notice that I turn to business and not playing all the time, that's when most of my family members started using me. And also some of them didn't want the other family members knowing that they was in the process. So once they found out that I would help someone, and no one knew that they closed on their house until we did the housewarming. That's when the other family members was like, "Let help me too, but please don't tell your mom, or don't tell Aunt Ruth or all that." So just make sure that because they're family members, you have to actually be more confidential with them and still set your boundaries, because they're family members. They'll call you at 10:30 at night, so still let them know that, hey, business is business and my hours are this, and if you call after this time, it's family time. So that's my 2 cents on that.
Okay. So one thing that Kamisha hit on was amazing, because that was the next thing that Lance, Loken, and Karina told me, that allowed them to get to the next level was education, right? So they made sure they stayed 10 steps ahead of their competition because they made sure they were educated. So there wasn't a program out there that they didn't know about. There wasn't an avenue that they couldn't take to help their clients get the best deal and get to the closing table faster. They made sure they consistently interviewed lenders, so not just educated themselves in the real estate part, but they educated themselves in the title, in lenders, in home warranty. There wasn't too much that they didn't know, and also it was, they never kept the same lender at all times, because each lender would get different products in, and they would move on to the next lender to make sure that their clientele had the best deal, right? So a lot of people say, well, I don't want to pay for that education. The education is going to help you, right? How many of you guys on here have taken classes outside of what you needed to renew your license?
Me.
Me.
Right. So there's two people on here, and I can
Me.
guarantee, well, probably more people, just because
Me.
a lot of people didn't say. Okay, so five people. There's five
I
Me.
people on
have.
there.
Yes.
Anybody else? I'm excited for y'all. All right, so it's still not everybody, but being educated and taking extra classes is going to help you to be able to help your client. I guarantee you, for the people that say, "Hey, I have taken extra classes," been able to get their clients more money when it comes to lender down payment and stuff like that, and they've been able to have a smooth closing, and their clients have been able to come back to them, because that's where your referrals come from, is because either you got them to the closing table without having to bring as much money, or getting their earnest money back. Your customer service was amazing, and you were very knowledgeable, right? And the fact that you educated them along the way. One thing that I've learned about real estate agents, with me closing, having so many different agents on the other side of the deal, is that a lot of times I have to tell them how to do their job, right? And I feel so bad sometimes when I'm working with some of these agents, because I know that their clients are getting the short end of the stick because they have no idea what they're doing. Someone has something to say? So that one thing about educating yourself is amazing, right? You're supposed to be a source, like a referral source. You're supposed to be able to point your clients into directions that they need to go when it comes to real estate in general. Okay. So they educated themselves. Joshua Smith told me, and they're on different levels, so don't, you guys don't have to go this far. But Joshua Smith said, Maze, mute your phone. He spends over $200,000 a year in education, right? The Loken team said they spend over $100,000 a year in education, right? I always tell people take 5% of what you make and put it back into education, because it's going to help you to get even further than where you need to go. Especially if there's doctors out here and you don't know there's doctors loans, if there's different encumbrances, and right now there's a lot of land because we're pushing out into the country. There's a lot of land that you have to walk through to get to other people's houses. If you guys don't know how to deal with that type of stuff, it's going to be hard when it comes to moving out towards Shepherd and Crockett and different areas like that. So keeping yourself educated is what had allowed him to go 10 steps further than his competition, right? The last thing that the Loken team itself said was the having a mindset of a millionaire agent is what he would call it, right? So a lot of us have a poverty mindset, he would say. That was his term. The poverty mindset says, I'll do it later, right? Or I'm already doing good. Or putting your pride in the way of door knocking. You'll have a lot of agents where you say, okay, well, I got out here and I door knocked, and they'll say, well, I'm not walking in that heat, right? Or we went into schools or different environments, and they'll say, well, we're not going in there, I don't like to go in that area. And he said one thing he wouldn't allow himself to do is allow his pride to get in the way, right? So even when he sat on the phone himself and made phone calls for 5-6 hours a day, and everyone hung up on him, or he didn't get a lead that day, he didn't allow his pride to get in the way and say, this right here is beneath me, or I'm not going to keep getting hung up on, right? So he changed his mindset in a different way than what most people talk about. He took that poverty mindset and it changed to a millionaire mindset. And everything says, I can't walk away from this until I made so much money. I can't remember his dollar amount, right? For me, I would say I couldn't get up from making phone calls until I had 2 appointments. Okay. And I would always say that if I don't be consistent today, I'm going to be broke tomorrow. All right. So to me, that poverty mindset is basically being okay where I'm at. And that's what the last thing that the other agents, Ashley and Joshua, would tell me is that their why was their biggest thing. And a lot of people, I know you guys kind of take it for granted. We sit down and we say, okay, well, our kids are our why, our this and that is our why. But you have to have a why that's going to get you up in the morning and make those phone calls, right? So for those of you guys that know me, my son has had a heart defect since the day that he was born. He has a pacemaker. He actually graduates today, you guys, and I'm here at work. So I have to go there tonight. But my why was that if I left this earth, my son will have enough money to pay for a heart transplant in cash if he had to, right? We never know how our kids are going to turn out. Are they going to be great? Or are they not, right? So I pray for the best and I prepare for the worst. And that was my why. It costs $4 million right now for a heart transplant. So my why was to make sure that my son had $4 million in a banking account, so that if I wasn't here on this earth and he didn't have insurance and he didn't do what he was supposed to do, he could pay for that heart transplant in cash. Right. So because of that, that was the reason why I got up every day, went into the office, and I made 3 hours of phone calls, and I made sure that I kept pushing, and I put myself in other businesses, and I made sure that I made enough so that my child had that $4 million, because life was so short. I was losing so many people and I needed it then. I didn't need it in a year. I needed to have it as soon as possible. So my question to you guys before we get ready to get off is, do you have a why? If some of you want to kind of tell us what it is, just so that people can have an example, it'd be great. But if you don't want to say it, make sure you have one, and make sure it's wrote down in black and white, and not just, hey, my kids are my why. Why? What is it that you need to do to make sure that your kids are going to be okay, or your parents? What is your why? Can I get like 3 of you guys to kind of give me what your why is?
Um,
Anybody?
I my main why is to completely get out of corporate. So, I feel like I'm doing some stuff backwards, but like I'm working on the advertising and I'm working on trying to be on the calls and doing the trainings. Like my why is to leave corporate and never have to go back. That's my main reason. Of course, my second why is my baby, but the first one is definitely to get out of corporate because I feel like when you working for someone that's not yourself, they have they're able to control like how much you can make and how much you can do, and I don't want to be controlled. Like I'm over it. I should have been left corporate, but that's the main why.
So dig a little deeper with it on your, on your own, and just and put on there what is your life going to look like after you leave corporate. One thing I tell everybody about corporate is if you die today on the job, someone's going to clock you out and your job's going to be posted the next day, right? Corporate does not care about you. They don't care because they care about the business. And I think it's a great mentality because I'm a business person, right? But the same way they look at their business, you have to look at yours. And in order to protect yourself, you have to work for yourself. Now, everyone's not meant to leave corporate, so I don't tell everybody that same conversation, have that conversation with everybody, but you have to be able to protect yourself and be able to choose your destiny. And in corporate, you're one step from being fired, right? You're one step from being clocked out. You're one step from being replaced. And that's something that you have to tell yourself over and over again. And one thing, one of my cousins, she doesn't do real estate, but she's in insurance, and she used to make $36,000 a year. She called me about 6 months ago, and she told me, "Hey, do you know that I made $644,000 last year?" It took her 10 years of me telling her, "Hey, repeat to yourself every day when you wake up, look in that mirror and say, you know what? If I die today at this job, they are going to clock me out and they are going to replace me faster than my family can get me in the ground." And because of her looking in the mirror, telling herself that, she was able to build her business up, keep herself motivated, and now she does insurance in Atlanta 100%. She's a financial consultant, and she's made more money last year than she probably made in every year of her working career put together. All right. Can we get two more before we get off here? Anybody have a why? Everybody's doing it for real estate.
My why was my kids. Um, I wanted to be involved with them at a very young age, which means to be present. So I knew that I invested time in my job and then invested time in my business up front. Then I'll be able to do what I'm doing now is spend a lot of time with my son and my daughter, bring them along for the ride, teach and train them, educate them, and for them to be present with me, and they also, I'm present with them, which school, dropping them off at school, picking them up. Um, I wanted that. I envisioned that, and I knew how important it is because I grew up without it, and I know what I was missing by not having it, and I wanted to make sure that Chase and Scholar has it.
Yeah, that's amazing. My grandma would always tell me that people don't learn from you from what you say; they learn from watching you, right? And she would always say that my kids were watching me. Well, my son, I only have one before she passed, but your son is watching you. So it's not your words, but it's your actions, and that's amazing. So you put yourself in a position to where your kids can watch you, and you could be present in their lives, and that you gave them a different chance at life, which is amazing. Is there anyone else? One more person before we get off?
Let me share something with everyone
I
because of
can
me. Oh, go ahead.
no, you can go ahead. I'll go after you.
No, go ahead, Dex.
Okay, so I'm 23. I don't have no kids. But I feel like my why is I want to be in a financial position to where I have freedom. My whole goal is to obtain freedom, and with money, you can buy your time back. So I feel like I'm working hard now. So when the time comes to when I do have a family, I can spend the time that I want with them just because I didn't grow up without a father. And like Andre said, I know how that affected me. So that's something that I want to over excel at when it comes to me as parenting and spending time with my kids and also just living life. I feel like Everyone wants to live the life that they want. I feel like a lot of people live the life others want them to live, or they live for others. So that's my why.
I think that is amazing. One thing I always tell people when I was growing up, and even now, my family and some of my friends always say that pursuit to money is just too much that you have, right? And what I always tell them is, I know money can't buy happiness, but it can get you partially there, and it can't buy you time, it can't buy you, relationships. But what it does buy me is a peace of mind, right? My son is getting ready to go to college this year. He decided he does not want to run track, so therefore he won't get that scholarship. And he didn't take his SAT because after COVID, no one's requiring it to get into colleges, so he can't get scholarships, right? So because I work hard, it took the worry about how am I going to pay for his college tuition, right? Because of me making money, it allows me to not worry when a car breaks down or when I have house issues. You buy part of your peace of mind, as crazy as it sounds. Your money is going to help you to not be worried, but there are some things that money can't buy. So when people say my goal is just to make enough money so that I can be able to live comfortable, and people think it's crazy, it's not crazy, right? What is that dollar amount that can help you to retire? The direction that the world is going in, we have no idea where our lives is going to be in 5 years. So in 5 years, how much money do you need to have in your banking account so that you can make it? The average lifespan is about 78 years old, right? How much money do you need to be able to live a comfortable life and make it to 78 if in 5 years you couldn't work anymore? All right. I guarantee you that right there is a why in itself, because it's going to give you peace, it's going to take that worry away. And for a lot of us, it's going to break generational curses because a lot of our family members weren't able to live a very comfortable retired life, right? So you may be the first generation person that actually doesn't struggle through retirement. And that's a why in its own. So no why is a bad why, you guys. Andre, go ahead and finish and then we'll wrap it up.
Yeah. So this is my why. This happened 2 days ago. And this is my why of my conversation with my son. So Chase was playing with this equipment and he was like, Dad, can you fix this for me? And I looked at it and I'm like, Chase, no, it can't go back up in there. It's not going to work. My son looked at me dead in my eyes. He says, Dad, you can do all things. You can do it, Dad. I believe you can do it. Go back and honey, try it again. Man, I'm gonna tell you, when my son told me that, I looked at him, I said, if I can't do it, I ain't gonna tell him. I'm gonna go buy another one. I'm gonna figure this thing out. So I took it and I worked on it for like 5 minutes and I finally fixed it and I gave it back to him with so much excitement and said, see, son, I did do it. I did. He said, see, Dad, I knew you can do it. Took it and went to the other room. And I was puzzled for a good 15 minutes on how in the world is my son grasping this conversation, disbelief. Let me tell you why. My why is because my relationship, he's seeing Dad in operation every single day because I'm present. Why am I present? Because I have the funds because of real estate to be present with him every single day. That's my why. And my life would not be the same after that experience with my son. It was amazing.
Yeah, that's amazing, you guys. So do we have any more questions or anything before we go ahead and wrap it up? All right. So thank you guys for telling me your whys. Thank you guys for adding to the conversation. Before we hang up, I just want to say these last couple of things, and Shannon, you can end it off with whatever you need to say. Please go out and get an accountability partner or a coach today. All right. It's going to change your real estate life, business. It's gonna take you to a whole nother level by having somebody to hold you accountable. Please time block and create your schedules today. And you have to start being consistent, right? Don't start Monday. Everybody say, hey, on Monday, I'm going to start being consistent. Start being consistent today. Pick up the phone for an hour. Go to the mall, go to a store, pass out 10 cards. Whatever it is that you're going to put on that time blocking in that schedule, stick to that schedule. Please go out and there's free classes out here. Look online, go to title companies, go to lenders, and take some extra classes. And be consistent, right? I believe I'm missing one thing, but be consistent with everything that you guys do across the board. And I guarantee you, within the next 30 days, you guys are going to see a difference just from that time blocking and that scheduling alone. For those of you guys that don't have money to put into marketing right now, it is okay. You could be consistent for free. Get out there and door knock. Get out there and start posting on Facebook and social media. As long as you be consistent, we have, for those of you guys in our brokerage, and a lot of you guys out there, we have KV Core. So take your entire phone, put it into your CRM, and go ahead and start getting those drip campaigns going. It's a lot of things that you guys can do for free right now to be consistent until you can have a marketing budget and be able to put money into marketing. Um, Thank you guys for listening to me. I pray that you learned something today. Janelle will be back on tomorrow. And Shannon, did you have anything to
Can
add to it before we hang
can
up?
I just say one thing? I want to thank you. This was very powerful this morning, Rayvon. I really appreciate everything you've said. Every time I come on, it's wonderful. But this was a very powerful, um, a lot of insight and your transparency. I truly appreciate it, and I think it will definitely have a lot of impact on myself. And I'll be calling you soon. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, that is absolutely right. Great conversation, great value added for everyone who spoke. We totally appreciate it. And then if you want to learn more about our brokerage or to learn more about our training schedule, you can email me at training@creliterealty.com, and I'll be glad to get you connected and we can continue the conversation. So awesome, awesome conversation. Definitely feel like we're walking away with some great habits that we can implement or continue to grow. And that is all I have.
Okay. You guys have a good day. Make sure you get consistent and make sure you do that time blocking and find your accountability partner. The next time Janelle has this, I'm going to hop on to ask you guys and make sure that you did it. Feel free to reach out to me if you have any questions, and definitely contact Janelle when it comes to coaching or any training questions. Okay. You guys have a good day.
Thank you.